August 23, 2025, at 8:30 a.m., a massive Russian armored convoy of up to 71 vehicles thundered forward with confident momentum. Their objective was to breach the Ukrainian defensive line with a lightning-fast assault. Swift, clean, and decisive. But from above, unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, and Ukrainian intelligence systems had already detected the convoy. As UAVs tracked their every move, Ukrainian Leopard and T-7 tanks lay in ambush, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Nearby, Marder infantry fighting vehicles were in position. UAVs maintained tight surveillance, while Paladin self-propelled howitzers silently awaited the fire command. 25 minutes later, the battlefield erupted as dozens of tanks, armored vehicles, all-terrain vehicles, and motorized bikes, pickup trucks, and even the Russian rescue team were engulfed in a sea of towering flames. T-70 tanks, BTR armored vehicles, MTLBs, and numerous Russian pickup trucks were blown sky-high, right as they were preparing for a pincer attack. The deafening sound of the heavy armored convoy echoed from two directions, like rolling thunder. However, the terrifying reality was that the Russian column was completely unaware they were about to fall into a trap. Meanwhile, Ukraine maintained 24/7 surveillance, as they had anticipated this type of operation. So, how did Ukraine manage to neutralize and shatter this enemy operation? Did they suffer heavy losses in this battle? Before answering these questions, let me know which country you are supporting in this war. If you support Ukraine in its war to defend the nation against invasion, then type the number 9 in the comments section. But if you support Russia, then type the number 1 in the comments section. Now, let's get started. At 9:20, when the 71 vehicle convoy appeared all at once, the electronic warfare system, Ukraine's signal jamming, and aerial surveillance stations sounded the alarm simultaneously. The Ukrainian brigade's Vdrava wideband scanner detected engine signatures north of Verkhnyo-Kamyansky, the clear sign of the Russian tank column. At the same time, the communications station of the Ukrainian mechanized brigades R168 recorded a threefold increase in Russian data traffic on a simulated mobile phone frequency. Two independent warnings appeared at the same time, causing the emergency alert panel at the command headquarters to glow bright red. Without hesitation, the intelligence officer immediately deployed the PD to reconnaissance UAV, which was on standby just 100 meters away. 7 minutes later, as the clock struck 9:27, the UAV reached the old mine road connecting Verkhnyo-Kamyansky with Donetsk at an altitude of 700 meters. Its infrared sensor detected a line of civilian pickup trucks driving with their lights off along the bumpy asphalt road. Simultaneously, the UAV recorded a faint light in the shadow of the pine forest toward Luhansk and transmitted it directly to the thermal map. The overlapping data points painted a clear picture of the attack formation. The Russian forces were moving in a semi-organized formation. 6 well-camouflaged T-7 tanks, followed by 3 BTR-8 personnel carriers, -1 Mount LB tractors and 1 Bram recovery vehicle, all forming a fire support line. The second group was more mobile, consisting of 12 Toyota and Gaz double-cab pickup trucks, to steel-framed buggies, and 41 combat motorcycles. On the soldiers' backpacks were anti-UAV SM jamming devices, while the pickup truck beds were loaded with Aglamanpads launchers, FN-Mag heavy machine guns mounted on tripods, and even smoke grenade launchers for artillery. Clearly, this was not just a passing convoy. Russia was employing lightning infiltration tactics, attack and withdraw quickly. But their every move had been seen by Ukraine. The death trap was sprung the moment the convoy's route of march was identified. The Ukrainian command immediately made a bold decision to launch a counter-offensive operation. The dusty mine road at the gateway to Donetsk, the meeting point at the Verkhnyo-Kamyanka junction, before looping around Siversk, was precisely where the death trap was set. The intention of the Russian armored convoy, with its 71 heavy vehicles, was now exposed. Within the first 10 minutes, the Ukrainian army had almost certainly approved the plan. A combined assault force with a two-pronged ambush was deployed immediately to the north, where the Russian BTRS and Mount LBS were concentrated. Ukraine deployed a battalion of Leopard 2A6S, 3 Marder armored vehicles, and 1 A36 team operating civilian Furia FPV kamikaze UAVs, along with 2 Paladin artillery batteries, 109A6, numbers 1 and 3. In addition, 2 Switchblade 600 kamikaze UAVs were also brought into the operation. To the south, where the majority of the Russian column was concentrated, comprising pickup trucks and dozens of motorcycles, Ukraine positioned the rest of its Paladin artillery for Marder infantry fighting vehicles and 8 FPV UAV teams to Turkish Bayraktar UAVs, 1 PD to reconnaissance UAV, and 1 Shark mini tactical UAV. Notably, a Stinger man-portable air defense system team was added to block any counterattacks from above. To elite observers, previously trained in tank hunting with the 81st Brigade, were assigned directly to the Leopard unit. They were tasked with marking explosion sites, while the Leopards pre-entered coordinates into their thermal sights. The battle plan became increasingly clear. Ukraine's preparations entered the decisive phase. The artillery commander allocated ammunition for the Paladin systems, 155mm Excalibur precision-guided munitions, HEDP ICM cluster munitions, and standard M107E rounds, 7 Excalibur rounds, 5 DP ICM rounds, and 6 M107 rounds. All were programmed for 3 different attack formations, with the Paladin firing table. The maximum deviation, over a distance of 500 meters, was reduced to just 19 meters, a level of almost perfect accuracy. The artillery programs. Satellite link was pre-synchronized with the laser frequency of the 320mm automatic cannons on the Marders, which were loaded with tungsten core ammunition. 1. Marder was also equipped with a side-mounted 30mm RPG launcher to increase its close-range firepower. The kamikaze UAVs were also ready. 16 were fitted with 5 kg EFP armor-piercing warheads, -1 carried to kilograms thermobaric explosives, and 6 Switchblades were covertly fitted with ISTAR, Telemark, and Frisbee fuses. Meanwhile, the Shark reconnaissance UAV was equipped with a CL-105 thermal camera for guidance, while the PD-2 was fitted with a backup battery for long-duration surveillance. The laser designation code from the TB-2 was integrated directly into the Paladin system. Everything was ready, awaiting only the final command. As the artillery commanders held their breath waiting for the signal, images from the UAVs were transmitted back. The first Russian tank was advancing slowly through the dense pine forest shadows. White smoke billowed from its engine, and its steel armor plates glinted blindingly under the Donbas summer sun. The moment to open fire was closer than ever. The Leopard battalion quickly deployed into formation, moving the reinforced tanks into firing lines. The operation observer carefully attached a sensor to the turret hatch and entered a range of 100 meters into the ballistic computer. Just seconds later, the L55 SABOT round shot out of the barrel at a terrifying velocity of 650 meters per second, ripping through the air and turning the target into scrap metal before it could even react. The first shot created a brilliant flash of light directly on the gun mantlet of the T-72 that was advancing from the Luhansk direction. The explosion inside the turret instantly turned the entire ammunition rack into a pressurized fireball. 12 bars of pressure obliterated everything in an instant. Without pause, the second SABOT round pierced directly into the diesel fuel tank of another T-72. The fuel mixed with the exhaust smoke and ignited, turning the steel machine into a moving torch. The third tank drove straight into the kill zone and was hit by a SABOT round right between its tracks. Its belly armor was shattered. The side armor plate was blown to the ground, smoldering like embers. In just a moment, -1 Russian main battle tanks at a range of 400 to 600 meters were torn apart. The entire line of vehicles suddenly became a giant pillar of fire, while the MT-pound behind was enveloped in a thick, gray screen of smoke. Now, the next targets were the armored personnel carriers, pickup trucks, motorcycles, and buggies from the south. The BTR-82s immediately lowered their guns and put their 30mm cannons into firing mode. But they couldn't lock onto their targets because the Ukrainian Marders only exposed their 20mm cannons from their concealed positions by the canal's edge. Before launching a surprise counterattack, the Paladin artillery battery opened fire. The first Excalibur round landed just 30 meters from the BTR line, turning a commander's hatch into a twisted heap of metal, while shrapnel destroyed all the optical equipment. The second Excalibur round hit the rear track of an mount-pound, detonating and shredding the MTLB's belly armor. It slumped to the forest floor like a felled log. The forest path was instantly shrouded in a thick cloud of smoke. Taking advantage of the moment, the Ukrainian FPV team launched 8 kamikaze UAVs at 950. 4 manually controlled drones flew straight into the turrets of the tanks. 2 others dove into the top armor of the overturned BTR. 2 UAVs fitted with EFP warheads pierced directly through the engine cover of the T-72. With the jammed tracks, the entire area immediately erupted into a blazing ring of fire. The Marder's cannon unleashed 500 rounds, piercing the 14mm side armor of the burning MT-pound, causing the molten armor to drip like tinfoil under a welding torch. On the southern front, a Bayraktar TB2 UAV painted a target with its laser on a pickup truck carrying Igla-Man portable launchers. The Paladins immediately fired DPICM rounds. Hundreds of steel ball bearings rained down, shredding the truck bed. In an instant, the pickup truck exploded into a fireball. The heatwave sent the driver into a panic, causing him to swerve and block the road. This unexpected incident caused the buggy behind to break formation, while the line of civilian pickup trucks scattered in chaos. The motorcycle team at the front was forced to brake hard, creating a chaotic chain reaction collision. At that very moment, a Paladin fired its second DPICM round into the cloud of motorcycles behind. The cold steel ball bearings tore through unarmored bodies, shredding the soldiers like dry leaves in a storm. Half of the 41 motorcycles were taken down instantly. An ATV buggy tried to charge forward, but a Shark UAV immediately guided a Switchblade 600, which dove in, following the camera feed. The 600 grams frag warhead struck the vehicle's frame. The buggy spun sideways at 50 kilometers per hour. Its rear fuel tank exploded, and flames erupted violently, reducing the entire vehicle to ashes. Black smoke billowed from the sea of dense fire, creeping into the sky like trails of boiling mercury. The Russian command was now trying to rally the surviving motorcycle riders, who were strung out like beads on a thin, taut string, preparing to issue the order to regroup. But before they could do anything, the second wave of the FPV UAV swarm descended, this time consisting of 6 drones. 1 UAV dove straight into the line of pickup trucks, exploding in a blinding flash right out above a driver. A second drone skillfully slipped past the cover of an Igla ammunition box and went inside. The direct internal explosion ignited all the missiles. The engine blew apart violently. The pickup truck was thrown into the air, spinning 3 meters before tumbling off the side of the road. The ammunition in its bed turned into a massive fireball. The E-band radio system identified at least 380mm mortar rounds inside. The explosion sent even the mortar tubes flying, causing the remaining motorcyclists to flee in terror, as if struck down by an invisible curse. Some daring riders were cut down by the Marder's 20mm cannon fire. Their bodies and bikes merged into a mangled heap. Others who veered into the fields were immediately met by a Paladin, raining down shells. The M107 rounds tore the ground into deep craters. The remaining pickup trucks of the Russian convoy were engulfed in dust, fire, and smoke. A Switchblade dove down, finishing the job cleanly. The pickup driver slumped over the steering wheel, while the Igla gunner, who had just jumped from the truck, was thrown into a ditch by the blast wave. Blood stained the ground red. The last two mount-LBs tried to escape to the edge of the road, but their tracks got stuck in the mud. Jaliskara infantry immediately opened fire, preventing them from calling for reinforcements. An RPG-7VR round pierced directly through the roof of the MTLB hull. The engine oil ignited at 900 degrees Celsius. The crew was thrown out like burning logs. The remaining MT pound was hit by mortar fire and FPV UAVs, breaking it into 3 separate pieces. Its tracks were gone, leaving only a twisted metal frame. From a distance of 10 kilometers, villagers could see a column of black smoke rising high into the sky. On the ground, the Russian armored unit looked like nothing more than a pile of dry leaves scorched brown. The engines on the 3 remaining BTRs had shut down, and their turrets were completely destroyed. One driver tried to reverse his vehicle, but as the gunner climbed the antenna mast, a sniper's bullet shattered his leg. He could only cling desperately to a tree trunk amidst the sea of fire. No one could come to his rescue. The Brem recovery vehicle suffered the same fate. When it drove into the inferno, its crane melted, and its diesel tank cracked under the explosive pressure, leaving behind a useless heap of steel wreckage. From a distance, the scene looked like an apocalyptic painting. -1 Russian tanks became fireballs. 3 BTRs were overturned. -1 mount-LBs were charred black and red, and the recovery vehicle was burnt to a crisp. The entire forest was now shrouded in smoke. Trees were felled. The ground was scarred with bomb craters under a hazy smoke. The tracks of the Leopards were imprinted brightly along the canal bed, like a steel pen carving deep into the battlefield's history. On the Donetsk front, the civilian camouflaged pickup trucks were burnt-out husks, and the motorcycle team was completely scattered. Some knelt by the roadside, their heads bowed in defeat. Others fled, crushing the dry stalks of wheat in the fields. The last remnants of a defeated army. The last 2 UAVs of the FPV team dove down like arrows from the god of death, aiming straight for a group of Russian drivers and dropping fragmentation grenades as neatly as a hand-tossed throw. The first explosion claimed 3 lives. The second explosion took down 2 more. Immediately after, 23 rounds were fired in rapid succession from mortar, leaving the remaining drivers motionless on the ground. At the pickup truck, the crossbar of the truck bed was bent out of shape. The buggy's frame was shattered, and on the TB2's thermal camera, only a single, faint heat signature remained. The frictional heat from the pile of scrap metal. The Paladin battery now fired its final DPICM round. Switching to re-engagement mode, a rainbow of submunitions rained down. The buggy's frame instantly snapped in 2, erupting into a blazing red fire. The operation concluded. The armored convoy of 71 Russian vehicles had failed to penetrate the Luhansk-Donetsk line. The UAV battalion's area control report and the tank defense unit confirmed that there were no longer any operational Russian military vehicles in the area. The entire forest was shrouded in gray smoke. The air, thick with the smell of burning rubber, was eerily silent. The result, Russia lost 64 out of 71 vehicles in the first 40 minutes. 4 others were destroyed shortly after, and 3 were too heavily damaged to move. Total personnel losses included 48 Russian soldiers killed, 69 wounded, and 1 captured alive. The Ukrainian side also sustained losses, but they were far smaller. 2 mortar with damaged tracks, 1 Leopard with cracked side armor, and for soldiers with minor injuries. The ammunition expenditure report detailed: Paladins fired 25 He, 8 Excalibur, 5 DPICM, and 6 M107 rounds. Leopards fired 19 SABOT rounds. Marders fired 0 rounds. FPVs launched 16 thermobaric EFP warheads, and 6 switchblade munitions were used. The turbine UAVs, PD-2, Shark, and Furia, participated in the 4th wave. Since fewer Excalibur rounds were fired than expected, the artillery commander did not request logistical resupply. Immediately after the fierce ambush, while smoke still clung to the evening sky, artillery observers in Siversk began searching for signs of a new tank formation from the northern route. But the area remained quiet. Perhaps the Russian commanders understood that they would need at least 2 to 3 more days to draw up a new plan. The front line, where the battle had just taken place, fell into absolute silence. The wrecks of armored vehicles lay scattered, left to the rust, to be gnawed away and swallowed by the mud for months to come. Well, that's all for today's video. If you have any opinions, please leave them in the comments section below. For now, goodbye and see you in the next videos.